Interesting.
Welcome,
Okay.
welcome to another episode of Starseed Activations. I did this wrong. Tiny bit wrong. Bear with me, guys. Okay, we just want to welcome Jody Powers, who is our co-host today. Thank you, Jody, for coming.
Thank you, Elle. This is so fun already.
Absolutely. So we are going to just start out by doing a very quick recalibration on everybody's systems. So if everybody can just take a nice deep breath in. One more deep breath in. Beautiful. And we just say thank you, thank you for the appropriate information for each person watching that is in divine alignment for all of us. Excellent. Yes. So welcome, Jody. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello, Elle. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much to the Star people for putting us in this space where we are smiling and laughing and just having a great time. And all these people here already, it's 7:02 and the room is packed.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. Welcome for the 222 portal day. So I have something really quick I want to show everyone. I think it's like the coolest thing I have ever gotten in my entire life.
Because it is.
Laughing. It is. It's like a lightsaber, but it's a piece of selenite. And the woman who made it, she put my name on it so you guys can all see. And it's selenite and a black light. So when I'm doing my attachment releases, I can use this to clear people's energetic grids. So I totally think it's cool. She made me one in a laser form as well. And the lady's name is Simone Desrochers. And so anybody who wants one, you can just send a message in through the Tree of Life organization, and I will text you back with her email. This way, yeah, isn't it cool, Nancy? It's like so amazing.
And Simone is here. She's like, oh my God, I'm here. This is Simone.
There's Simone. Simone, put your email in the comment box. This way, anybody who wants one can message you directly. That's perfect.
Awesome.
Yes.
And Jess Gigi is here. Awesome. Look at all that. Nancy Hadley.
Yes.
I saw Nikki is here. So
Stacy!
The long-awaited return for you.
Yeah. I know. Thank you, guys.
What has been going on?
Yes.
What has been going on?
Sometimes it is okay for each and every one of us to take a step back from the everyday hustle and to really recalibrate ourselves. And so even the message of today was self-love and self-growth. And so the first thing I did this morning was sit down and think about the tiny things that I personally can do to make myself 10% happier without putting any, unrealistic expectations upon myself. So some things that I personally did, I drank a green juice first thing in the morning. I made sure my hair was done before I left the house. I met up with people. We had good laughs. We had fun. I came home. I painted today, right? So everything I was doing was all directed in self-growth. And so that's totally the theme. And it's not only of today, it's the theme of the entire week. So anyone listening, if you can just make a list of maybe 5 things that you can change or 5 things that you're interested in trying new things, then make that list this week and do it with us, because we always tend to do these things together. And you guys always send the comments and the messages in and, and talking about what you're going through and what changes you've made and how it's bettered your life. And so it's really beautiful to witness and perceive. Yes.
You are such a beautiful example of how to do this. And also, taking that time off for yourself for whatever you needed to do in the last couple of weeks, knowing that people were so excited for you to come back on but you just needed to do what was right for you. And you did.
Yeah, I did. And I'm still doing it. And so, but it's a baby step process.
Yeah.
And I try and explain this to everyone. It doesn't matter what level consciousness that you reach. It doesn't matter if you know all this stuff or not. It doesn't matter. Even if you're putting it into practice every day, sometimes it's good to come in and to still sit and be with just yourself. Right. And so you're not as focused on the phone. You're not answering all the messages. You're not working 24/7. It's kind of like, it's good to take the time out and to rebalance and to really come back in and recenter on yourself. So it's important for all of us to do this. And when we start to do it, it really allows us to heal or to dive in deeper into any trapped emotions that are inside the body and to really figure out who we are as a person and what it is that we're here to learn or to heal or what we could do more of to make us happy and joyful.
Yeah. So I got an image after you said, "Oh, let's do the live tonight. Are you free?" I got an image right after that, a vision of the universe putting a puzzle together, the outside of a puzzle, just the edges of the puzzle. And we know that that's what we do first. We have to anchor in, and anchor, that has come up twice this week, anchor in the corners. So I wonder if you can talk about that, if that vision meant anything in particular that we need to hear.
Well, when I personally think about anchoring in the corners, doing the outside of the puzzle is always the first thing I do first. And so you do the outside so that it makes bringing the inside easier. Now, the outside is basically, it's the foundation. And so our foundation, and this is a really good example because a lot of people, we raise our frequency and then we fall back down. Then we raise our frequency and we fall back down. That fall back down, if it's like significant enough, it's dark enough or it pushes you down far enough, it's because your foundation isn't 100% strong. So we always have to have a look at the foundation. What are your 12 experientials? So your 12 experientials correlates to different aspects in the energy field, which 12 different experiences imprinted your energetic grids to such a degree in which it started the cycle repeats over and over and over. So knowing what the master imprints are is key, because then you can start to focus on the master imprints. And when they come up, it gives you an opportunity to clear the emotions from those original imprints. So the original imprints, it could look like something as silly as an argument that you may have had, and then it recycled over and over again so that that one argument happened through multiple people, places, and things.
Okay. So that makes so much sense. It feels very much like they are trying to, our guides, our ancestors, our angels, they're all trying to anchor us in and guide us, like almost like putting the puzzle pieces, like here's a couple. All you have to do is put it in the right spot.
Yes. That comes in so many different ways. And
is that what's happening now?
I would say so. I had recently, and this just came into my mind without saying names, I recently had an individual who came forward, and during, I guess, a channeling, but it wasn't like an official channeling. It was like, I'm here and we're going to talk. Right. And there was something to do with her mother. And then her mother came forward and channeled through me. And it was like, this is what your mother, and her mother passed away. And this is what your mother wanted you to know. And then all of a sudden that person turned around and she was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I say to my daughter. And it was word for word for word, exactly the prayer that she says for her daughter is what her mother said for her. So that's how the ancestors work, right?
That's a huge puzzle piece.
It's a huge puzzle piece because it's also a reflection. And so a reflection is the ancestral karma that we're all always talking about. It goes 7 levels this way, 7 levels into the future. However, if you really look at it, it goes on for infinity. We're just only able to see to 7 degrees. And so, but when you start to see and notice the reflections, now, in my own reality, the way that I see my world and the people I surround myself with, they all have been seeing these reflections at a very, very high frequency rate.
Yes.
And so we may be talking about something, and then all of a sudden it's like, wham, here it is again. And it's right in your face from a different angle. Jody, me and you just
I'm
did
like,
this.
yes.
We just did you hear about Beetlejuice? I'm like, yeah, I was listening to something, and Jody sent me the podcast, and I was like, that's the exact podcast I was watching last night. But I was watching it on a fluke. It just so happened to cross my page.
Yeah.
So we have to take into consideration that divine alignment is real. And this is the way it works. It works because we are all holding a sense of magnetism. That sense of magnetism puts us in alignment to experience things that are of a similar frequency range. And so when we start to change or shift or modify our density level, it changes the experiences that we perceive. Now, just imagine for one moment that you have a thought frequency wave, okay? But when you raise your density level, the thought frequency wave raises. And so whatever you personally are tuning into, your density level is going to determine what thought wave that you tune into. Okay. And so the reason why this is important is because was that thought wave already always there for this player character? That is the question. It's the cat in the box. It's Schrodinger's cat. Because at this point, it's like, well, what is me and what is the simulation? Now, the thing about it is that the higher you raise your density level, the thought grid changes, or the thought frequency wave changes, I should say. Now, what that means is when you raise your density, you become more love crystallized in your nature. You may not allow curses to come into your reality. And if they do, you boundary ring and you walk away. When that happens, your thought wave changes so that you are raising your density, and all of a sudden, those words no longer exist in your reality. You just don't experience them.
That's how I feel about gossip.
Yeah. Oh, that's how it works too.
Some people it's gossips. Eventually it's all of it. But yeah.
I'm not around any of that anymore.
Right.
So that's like, it's not even a thing in my reality. It doesn't exist. I understand that other people in this 3D reality have experiences with gossip. It's just not in my world anymore. It's not focused on. It's not tolerated. When I find people doing it, I don't even find people doing it. It's just not a part of my reality as a whole.
Well,
but that's what I'm telling you.
But when you're around it, right? So not all of us have those lives yet where it's completely gone, right? What about when you are near it, you are protected from it? You have raised your vibration so much that it doesn't even trigger a reaction. You can just kind of like, I'm like off a duck's back, right? It just flows right back to them. That's them. You pull your energy back. Can you talk about that? I mean, eventually we all want it to not be in our existence at all. But realistically, at this point, what do we do if it's still there?
I can tell you from my own personal experiences. Now, my own experiences, I used to associate myself with other people, and those people were engaged in it. And then when I set my boundary rings and I didn't allow it in my life anymore, and when this is a heart to heart with myself. When I stood up and I said, anyone who gossips, I don't want them in my field. That's a wrap. If they're going to be talking about other people, that's not in alignment with me. I do not accept that energy. That means it's okay. I'm not going to judge you guys. I just don't need that in my world. I need to focus on things that are positive for me. I need to focus on love and light. I focus on assisting other people and being of service to the collective. And I don't need that type of darkness or negativity in my reality. So it's okay for other people to engage in it, I completely understand. I do not judge people.
Yeah.
However, in my world, it's not a part of my reality.
Right.
And so when similar to that of when you raise your frequency, are you going to hang out with a drunk? Not really. You're going to want to be around people who are focused on self-growth and self-love and healing and, giving back to the community and all of those things. But it's okay for the drunk to do what he has to do. He will pray for him. We will love him, but we're not going to sit down. Yeah, we send love and light. If we are of assistance to him, that's different. So you can show up, you can do community assistance and all that stuff too. But I'm talking about like pulling up a seat at a bar and hanging out and like, it's just, it would never happen in my reality,
Right.
and that's just, I know it seems harsh, but it's just the truth of the reality.
No, it doesn't sound harsh. It sounds really reasonable. That's what you want to do. But I think a lot of us are trying to get there. So we all know somebody in AA, right? Somebody that's trying to stop drinking doesn't hang out at a bar or shouldn't be because they're not going to be dry for very long. Like we get that, right?
Yes.
I have 6 children, right? This is what I'm thinking of is around the dining room table. They're going to be coming over for St. Patty's weekend and they all start, bopping each other and like little jabs here and there. Or mom, remember when you did, things like that. I'm just not going to send love and light to my kids and like shut the door on them. Like, so just protecting myself sometimes and letting them know. Do you think you could say that in a nicer way, even though you're 19?
I mean, family is different, right? So it's kind of like family's different. You love your family, and if they're physically,
but I feel like we should talk about that because that's when the rubber hits the road, right? Like
that's a big thing. You do have to release resistance, and so I mean, at one point, I felt like I was just spinning my wheels because I would. You guys could just imagine. So my parents, I would sit down and I would tell them all this stuff, and they're like, "You are crazy." And
Mom, you take your love and light somewhere else. They'll be like,
yeah.
And I was just like, you guys,
it's real. It's science. I'll pull it up on the internet, right?
Yeah.
And this was in the beginning, and so I went on and on and on, and then it got to such a point where I was like, they're not going to believe it either way, so I just have to release it. And through the process of releasing it, I started to notice both of them started to open their eyes and see what I was telling them. So my mother, through different angles, she started getting the same information from different people, and then my father started, did you know UFOs are real? I'm like, yes, Dad.
I love it. I love it.
So, but that's releasing resistance, is not imposing your expectations on that family. And what that looks like is we have to be able to sit down around the physically focused people. They're still people. They are still connected to us, right? They are still part of the human consciousness grids, and we still are being called to have love in our hearts for them, as we should. So when I walk into any stores, I hold the doors open. I love and bless people, right? Not to try and over, say it here, but just be loving, caring, kind of be a good human. Like that's just the bottom line, right? Open your heart.
And if somebody else isn't a loving, caring, kind, or doesn't say thank you or doesn't whatever,
that's okay too, because there's some aspect of you that needed that experience in order to assist you in your evolution. So at that point, when someone's nasty, it's like, whoa, okay, thank you. Because how did I respond to that? Did I get triggered? If yes, if I got triggered, triggers are meant to be an indicator for us. And so whenever you have a trigger, it's like, bing, hey, there's a trapped emotion inside. Let's sit down and let's dive through that emotion. Why did you get triggered? Because if someone is calling you a name and you know that you are not that name, or you know that it's not true, it doesn't really bother you, right? If somebody walks up and calls you ugly and you know you're not ugly, you just look at them and you're like,
if someone told me I was too skinny, that wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, it wouldn't bother you because you know it's not true. So any triggers, when you do get triggered, well, why did you get triggered? Why did it bother you?
Yeah.
What about that word or that sentence, what bothered you? So thank you, trigger, because now you've just shown me where I need to dive in and where I need to heal myself. Because when you go through, you do the shadow work, you don't really get triggered anymore. It's like you become rock steady, literally. And it doesn't mean that we don't get triggered as human beings, because it doesn't matter what level you're at. It doesn't matter how much shadow work. The truth of the matter is, if you were in a physical body, that physical body must have at least one energetic imprint or emotion code that needs to be healed. When all emotion codes are healed, that is when the rainbow body of light may then be fully activated.
Mm. So I find that the triggers are fewer and far between, which is really nice. So sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm really angry. Do I, and it's kind of like when you have an infant, you're like, do they need to be burped? Do they need rest? Are they hungry? And you go through all of these basic things, the outside of the puzzle, the foundation, if you will. But then, looking at it from an observer standpoint, and seeing yourself in non-judgment, that's a lot of work and takes a lot of practice. But I think everyone who is in here has gotten so much better in months. That's what I feel like. If people in the comments want to talk about, that would be great, because I feel like this is the work that we've been doing.
It's showing up. You have to show up for yourself. And it was funny because I was just at a coffee talk over the past week, and the gentleman who's hosting it, he was like, say one good thing about yourself. And of course, I'm in the middle of the line, so everyone had all the good things first. And then when it got to me, I was like, well, I show up. And
you do.
That's it. I show up for myself. It doesn't matter how cranky I am or how tired I am, or, whatever I feel like, I'm still going to show up. It doesn't matter. I don't have to leave my house to show up. I'm going to show up for myself. And, it's understandable to have your highs and your lows, and to go through your processes and to do all the things. But at the end of the day, I'm patting myself on the back, and it's okay for me to make mistakes. It's okay for me to fall. It's okay for me to have the human experience, and it's okay for me to love unconditionally. That includes loving myself. And that's always a first step. That's why sometimes it's good to go inside, and it's good to love yourself and to just recalibrate yourself, and then, spend time in your house. Like, we're going to paint the bathroom. That's been needing to be done for a while now. So it's kind of like, good. But it's spending that time with yourself and with your space and freshening up and really getting your ducks in a row and just being at peace. So,
that's the other thing about triggers. When you said, I show up, I'm like, oh my God, you showed up in such a way for me so many times. But as recently as 3 weeks ago, when I was really having a hard time, and all of a sudden my phone rings, I've got my headphones on, I'm ready to go. And you're like, what do you need from me?
Yeah.
You show up. You show up for yourself first, and then you show up. During those trigger moments, you're also seeing who else is there showing up for you.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Instead of just wondering like, oh, if something happens, so-and-so will be. And you find out sometimes the hard way, they're not going to be there. Somebody that you never expected will come in and help you. Yeah.
Well, and this is another thing. This was just another conversation, a recent one, but it really is when another person gets triggered, especially it's something to do with me. Now, of course, it's never my fault.
Me either. Same.
It's well, I was trying to help, So, but when somebody does get triggered, it's like a part of me sits back and I'm like, now I'm going to observe your behavior. And I'm going to see how you react to me. And this is important because it's like, well, if there's any screaming and cursing or talking down to me, it's like boundary rings. And as uncomfortable and how crummy it is, we have got to put the boundary rings to people who, if they're going to talk down or get triggered and the curses and the this and the that. But once again, none of that is in my life. Every single person that I respond to or interact with, I don't seem to have an issue. They can get triggered, they can get angry, they take a moment back, and then they come back and they're like, I love you. I understand my triggers. And that's part of evolution as well. When you start to hold that frequency and you start to attract other beings of that frequency, they can get triggered. Then they go inside, they recalibrate themselves, and they still respond with love and light to you. Right? So even if somebody angered me, my outward expression to them is going to be, well, we have to be able to come to some peaceful resolution because we love each other. That's it. And I know that sounds like most people don't do that in the physical reality. I don't care. That's how I roll, and that's how I expect my people to roll with.
I think
laughing.
I think it just takes time and it takes practice.
Yes,
so a lot of people don't do that because, like, I had no idea that there was a different way to live, that there was a different way to not react like that. And then when I saw people that weren't just reacting, I was like, I could never do that. Then it became, well, I could start practicing that. And then it became, I'm watching other people react and I'm just observing. And, you know, she's not muted, I don't think. Did I lose sound?
I don't think I'm muted.
I don't think so.
No, my microphone looks green on the screen. So I think
and I can hear you. So
good.
But it is practice, and I like to reiterate that as often as possible, because I didn't just get to this place that I'm very proud of being in, all by myself or all at once.
Yes.
And giving ourselves grace to learn our lessons, you know?
Well, and that's the thing too. I say this all the time to people, baby steps. And that's not to be rude or insulting to people, but that got me through my hard times. It was like, just breathe and take a tiny baby step. Just breathe, take another tiny baby step. And that's it. And so whenever we're doing any type of healings, you just have to do one baby step. Just one thing. If you're trying to change yourself, change your life, change anything, and it's like even cleaning your room. Sometimes cleaning the entire room, it's too much for a person because it gives them anxiety and stress and they just can't do it. So we tell people, start with a drawer, start with one square on the floor, just make one tiny clean mark and then move on to the next square when you feel like you can. So if that's
what can you do instead of what you can't do? What can you do?
Yes.
You want to pick up the socks?
Clean one tiny thing. That is all. That's it. And then tomorrow, or even in 5 or 10 minutes, when you feel like you can clean a tiny bit more, do a tiny bit more. That is all. This way, you're not putting pressure, stress, or unrealistic expectations on you. Plus, there really is no time and space. So when we sit with ourselves, or even when we're washing dishes, you're only ever really washing one dish. The rest of the time is like a zone of focus, and it's an illusion. So just keep telling yourself, I'm only washing the one dish. And all of a sudden you'll blink and all the dishes will be done. It's your zone of focus that you want to learn how to shift. When you shift your zone of focus, it allows you access to control time and space. So it's like fast forwarding the tasks that you don't want to do. Now, there was one really important thing that the star people had me do, because in the beginning when they came to do my healing, I was like, I don't want to clean, because you don't have the energy and it's and the kids made a mess. And I had a million excuses back then. And they were like, when you go to a friend's house, you always want to clean because you want to help them. And I was like, yes. They were like, so clean your house for an angel. And I was like, and they were like, just pick an angel, any angel. So, Raphael. And it was like, I'm washing the dishes for you, not for me. I'm washing it for you. And then it made me feel good to wash the dishes. And I was like, wow, that was really easy. He's like, yeah, now you can go and you can clean your bedroom for, whoever. You pick whoever you want to do it for. And you do it like that because or even a friend. I'm going to clean my room.
Why is it easier to do it for somebody else?
It's always easier to do it for someone else. It's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It feels good to help. So if you're cleaning your room because you're helping, right?
Oh, that's true.
It
It gives you
feels
a
better.
sense of, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yes.
easier. There's more
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
So
It's
my
amazing.
dog just randomly started barking above my fireplace mantle.
It's
I
probably a
wonder how that
ghost.
happens. How does your dog bark above his fireplace mantle? That's so
Get your
funny.
video camera. Take a video, Cardi.
Yeah, we need
We
to
gotta
see
see
that.
what's there.
Okay. And so April says, I am a complete newbie with this information. I don't know where to start. Well, we just talked about that. Like,
Yeah.
so for me, it was about 4 years ago. When did you start on this?
Well, me, I mean,
Yeah.
I was into, it's been years, years.
Yeah.
First, I learned the conspiracy, and then I started learning the true nature of the reality. And so I knew all this information, and,
Mhm.
I used to channel the conspiracy, but I didn't know I was channeling. I just thought it was really smart and I knew everything. And then, I learned all the spiritual knowledge, and I still had no idea I was a channel until 2019. And then
Mhm.
in 2019, it was Star People. I went through a massive healing. So I took my life from darkness into the light. Like it was like a hardcore shift. And that's when the Star People asked me if I wanted to be a channel for them. I said
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
Yes. But you were, I don't want to say paralyzed. How did you describe it though? When somebody says, I'm a complete newbie with this information, like a lot of people here have already heard your story, but for the people that haven't, you have gone through a lot and it's taken many, many years. So give yourself grace.
Yes.
But at this point, it feels like, when we're talking to April, who's a newbie, it feels so much like things are speeding up. It is not going to take April 4 years.
No. No.
Can you talk about that? The
Well,
time
we
difference and how
have
the frequency is speeding up and all of us are one, that kind of thing?
Yes. So
Okay.
we know something called the 100 monkey effect. So the 100 monkey effect is
Mhm.
basically when enough individuals tune into a certain level of knowledge, it allows for the rest of the people on the planet to consciously become aware of that knowledge more rapidly. Very rapidly. So Google the 100 monkey effect and you can see how that works. Now,
Mhm.
when we start to teach spiritual knowledge, it is a baby step process. So the first thing I would do is learn sacred geometry. They have a website.
That's the first thing you would do?
Very first, yeah, yeah, because the
Oh,
sacred
okay.
geometry is encoded into all the plants, all the animals, everything. So when you see it, you know it, and then you believe it because you know it. And when you know that you are the blade of grass, there is no separation between you and the grass, you and the trees, you and the other people. There's zero separation. That's where I would go first. And
Mhm.
so the sacred geometry and then
Okay,
quantum
well, that
physics.
confused me for a very long time because I made it much more complicated. Like when I look back on it and I was Googling sacred geometry and I was getting all of these weird shapes and
Well,
vortexes and stuff like that. But really, just paying attention to that
yes.
is
But
a
they
good
have a kid. Some guy made a kids movie. And the kids movie is absolutely adorable. Of course, I have kids. But it's
Okay.
spiritscience.com or Spirit Science, the Sacred Geometry movie. And just go
Okay.
watch that because he makes it really easy for everyone to understand. And
Okay.
that's the basics.
Good.
That's the beginning intro of spirituality where he
Yep.
shows you step by step by step. And he's got a ton of videos. So it's like I would watch all of that. And then I would really dive into there's different spiritual teachers, Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, right?
Mhm.
Those guys are wonderful. They were
Robert Gilbert.
I don't know who that
He's
is.
the sacred geometry man. Robert Gilbert. He's like the
Is
Vesica
he
Institute.
is he doing videos now?
Um, yeah, he does a lot of interviews, and he's got the Vesica Institute. Like
Okay, yeah,
he's
I know who he
OG.
is.
He's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
he's really
super
good with
cool.
that. And
I'm
he
starting to
shows,
see.
I believe, I know who you're talking about. I believe he goes into the energy grids, right?
Yes.
And he comes at him from a totally different angle. I've been saying this for how long? It's like the past year. The star
Yes.
people said there's different energetic grids and it's a different shape. He probably knows the shape. I haven't dove deep into his research, but I'm sure he probably knows the shape of it.
Oh, and his, Robert Gilbert.
Yeah, I'll
The
have to check
the
him out.
Vesica Institute, and he's got interviews and everything, but
Yeah.
basically talking about the sacred geometry of even visualizing. So Mary Jean says, I am starting to see sacred geometry with my third eye.
Yeah.
I remember having somebody come to one of my hypnosis, like a group hypnosis session. And afterwards, we're all talking about our journeys and how it went and sharing our experiences and really like drilling it down, and anchoring it. There's that word again. And somebody said, you know what? I didn't get a past life, or I didn't really get anything fun. I just saw a whole bunch of like numbers and swirls and geometric designs. I was like, girl, you are next level. Like this is,
yes.
yeah. And I didn't know it at the time. I wish I could have told her that at the time, but yeah, Dr. Robert Gilbert and Robert Edward Grant are both on Gaia. Yeah. Those are great places to start. Yeah. And your book. I mean, your book is literally an encyclopedia of Ascension. So
yes, it is. And the book's name is My Ascension Guide.
Yeah.
Yes. And that was it was downloaded over the course of a year and a half by the Star people. And so it was me going through my life experiences and the Star people answering questions that I had in the now moment. And so I would be hanging out with my friends and like, time out, I have to go write this down. And
and that wasn't easy for you.
Yeah, no, I had to tell everyone.
You can't sit still, really. I remember doing this, and we're like, we're gonna, write, or that was hard for you, but you did it, and they did everything they could to help you on that journey. It seems like.
It was more like, because I could sit and I could write it, but as far as sitting down and reading someone else's book, or even like reading my book cover to cover, it's like, one post was what I was able to do. And so I could sit down, I could write a post, I could put it on Facebook. And then all my Facebook people started saying, you have to put it all into a book so we have them all together. And that's what I did. So, but I did it for you guys so that you guys have the information. So.
Yeah. And it really is amazing. So Mary Jean says, I'm on page 65.
Yay.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Trudy.
Beautiful.
Trudy is with us. So exciting. So today is the 222 portal.
Mm-hmm.
What should we talk about? What should we expect for energy? What should we anticipate? What do we need to know about that?
Well, we are seeing triggers. We're seeing cycle repeats. We're seeing triggers, and we're seeing fears come up in people. So whenever we start to see that, we know it's important just to go back in and to really self-love and self-care, and to even try and be humble for every single experience that we have. So it really is focusing on yourself and recalibrating yourself. Yeah. Now, as far as manifestations go, I mean, it's okay to put new manifestations and start new things right now, because like I said, but I would try my hardest, if you can, to keep it focused on the self-love and self-growth. Manifestations is where I personally am going, but I know all of the people I talk to, they're all focusing on the same exact thing. So whenever I start to see reflections like that, I know it's like, okay, this is the energy of what we're in. So it's like the universe is calling us to look inward more and heal.
Okay, so another example of a reflection. So if people want to know what reflections are, you and I watch the same video. We're talking about Beetlejuice. Yes. Then a couple hours later, you send me a video where you're all playing musical instruments, and you each have one in your hand. And I was like, hello, we just did that yesterday. We each had an instrument, and that's not something that I do all the time. So those are reflections.
I've never done it. I've never sat down with a pan drum before, but I sat down behind the pan drum and I was like, I love this thing.
Yes, it's so fun.
Yes, it was amazing.
Yeah, it is so fun. So 222, we pretty much already talked about the triggers and all of that. So that's really what we should be focusing on at this moment in Ascension.
Mm-hmm.
Keep doing the work, keep doing the shadow work, keep learning as much as you can. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. So now, oh, Stacy, you just got a drum? You have got to send me a photo. I want to get one.
I think a video of the drum is better.
Yes, Stacy, send me a video of you like banging on it.
Because the video of you doing the drum was kind of funny. I was like, oh, we play the same way. We're like,
it's like a little kid. I had little happy faces on the drumsticks. I was like,
get your lightsabers out. Yes. So everyone needs a drum and a lightsaber.
It's so fun. Yeah, we have, you guys have to hang out at Sunshine. She's amazing. She's got all these cool toys and things to make noise. And that's what we did on our day off. Every single one of us grabbed a piece of musical equipment and we made a beautiful video. It was so much fun.
Yeah, that was amazing. So I guess, can we talk about the supernova, the Beetlejuice? I mean, we both saw it. It seems to be important. I don't know if the star people want to talk about it or address it, but it seems to be, I don't want people to be afraid.
According to that man's podcast, which once again, I don't even know his name. He just came across my screen. But
Robert Edward Grant.
Robert Edward Grant. So
Robert Edward Grant talked about Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice. Was it Beetlejuice?
Or you can say it Beetlejuice. I guess that's the way you say it in German. But
yeah. And according to that video, he claims that star is going to have a solar flare or implode on itself or something. It's going to and we are going to see that in our lifetime. And according to his video, he claims that it's going to look like a rose type of energy. So it basically is like a chakra system activating is what that is. So we had to first activate one of the chakras in our biological fields to allow for that to experience itself in our reality. Now, what the star people are saying is, yes, many of you may see that in your lifetime. That's okay too. There will be many different effects because every single body is different. Every single person is in a different dimension. So each and every one of us, and they've been saying this, everyone's in their own timeline bubble. It's your own dimension. A dimension is length times width times height, which gives the 3D form. And so every person sees their own 3D reality different. That means you're in a different dimension. We co-create dimensions. So the second that we all came together on this live stream, even though we're in different places, we're all co-creating this moment in time, in space. We're all coexisting together, enjoying the same or similar frequency waves, ever so slightly different, but we're all perceiving the same now moment in a similar bandwidth, is what the star people are saying. When an event like that manifests for all of us, it is simply because something inside of your biological field is calling for an attunement. That attunement is going to allow your consciousness to shift its awareness to become more in aligned with that frequency. That frequency is going to have a dramatic impact on your emotion grids, dear ones. It is going to allow for a spectrum of light waves to fully wash through you, which are going to allow you access into the saint and higher frequency realms. This is going to allow access into 5D as well as other emotions which are currently uninhibited by your biological forms. And we are sending you many love and blessings.
Thank you so much. Was that Teresa?
Yes.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. So I personally don't have any fear about that.
Yes.
I want to just address that if other people, there's so much out there about like the solar flashes and this and that, like, preparing for the future is one thing. I'm excited about this, and looking forward to, I don't know, a shift in consciousness and elevation. And I'm ready for
Well,
if any of it's uncomfortable. Like, I feel like we've been through the boot camp already of that.
she just said we're going to access the saint frequency or higher. So when I hear that personally, I just think, I think they're activating the angelic realms for us. And it's kind of like we've done the shadow work, we've released a lot of darkness, and now all of a sudden, the outer simulation is responding by giving us a higher frequency. That's all. That's all this is. It's a higher frequency wave. And it doesn't mean that we won't have 3D people still on the planet. It doesn't mean that. Because to some degree, we're all still 3D, even though we are becoming more crystallized in our nature. But what this means is a higher bandwidth of emotion codes are going to become activated for us. That is all. So that higher bandwidth, now just imagine, how does it feel inside of your body to feel love, joy, and bliss? Those are the higher frequency waves. Authenticity is the highest. Now, authenticity is standing in your truth, speaking your truth, and believing your truth. You have to know your truth and stay truthful towards it at any given moment. So that's not suppressing yourself. That's being in alignment with who you are designed to be. Now, there's a frequency higher than that, is what she is saying. So the frequency higher than that's a blessing. There's no other way around that. You're going to give us a higher frequency that we can tap into. That is a blessing from God.
Yeah.
So
That's
how
I feel too. Yeah. And when people are talking about like the shift or the two earths, I feel like it's two frequencies, not
it's already here.
Two earths.
The two earths, it is already here. So this is the way I want you to see it. We can have 3 people, we can have 10 people outside, and we're all staring at the same exact sky at night. And we're all like, oh, look at the UFO. It's so cool. And one of us goes, I can't see it. Where is it? They're not in the frequency wave to receive that light. They're not able to tune into it because they're not in alignment with it. So the 3D people who are not on the spiritual path, that's okay too. They just won't see what we are able to see. Now we know telepathy is real. This is a slam dunk in my reality. I'm even starting to pick up to telepathic communication between my friends. This happens all the time, right? Yeah. And it's becoming more and more of an everyday occurrence for us.
We're really sharing energy.
Yeah.
It feels like.
That's what it is. So if we are able to tune in to these extrasensory abilities, someone who's very physically focused, their mind is going to be closed off to it. They're not going to be able to tune into it as easy, right? So if they're not, that just means they're not going to perceive it. And that's okay too. When we recognize that, it's like, okay, we have to be at peace with you guys having your own experience, and we have to stay focused on love and light and blessing ourselves and healing ourselves and being authentic and true to who we are. Why do we come here? What makes us happy? Let's do what makes us happy. That's what we do. So when you do that, it's going to allow that shift into a higher frequency. Now, it was just like we were talking earlier, with the gossip. I don't see that in my world anymore. I don't see it on my feeds. I don't see it when I open my eyes out the door. I don't see it. It never shows up in my reality because I put the boundaries up. Anyone who was gossiping, I do not accept that energy.
You're like,
you're out of here.
Back on up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the New York in me. Not happening, universe. You boundary ring up. I do not accept that. I don't want it in my life. And that's how I go. So when you start to place these boundaries, it allows you to fine tune the type of experiences that you are going to have. That doesn't mean the universe is not going to throw you a curveball. However, the curveballs become less and less and less until you just don't see them anymore. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And, somebody said it's like pruning. You have this rose bush or this plant, right? And at first it's so overgrown and you need to get the big twigs off of there. And then you're just pruning little leaves and whatever. And that's kind of what we're doing,
Yeah.
But sometimes the universe will have to, I feel like the universe, our guides, our angels will come in and prune for us when we're not taking the clippers outside.
Yes. It
And
does.
just they will remove people or things or whatever and say, you know what, if you can't, like I would say to my kids, if you can't make good decisions, I'll make them for you.
Yes. Well,
right.
That's called a rock bottom. And so a rock bottom, it has many different angles that we can see it from. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have hit the lowest of the low, because you can raise your frequency and then you can have another rock bottom. It happens to people all the time. A rock bottom is really when the higher self steps in and the higher self is in full control. The higher self goes, I've given you enough time to work through these emotions. You haven't shifted out of them yet. So here's, a cycle ending shift is like the nicest way to put it, but you may get a sniffle, a cold, a flu. You may, a number of things may happen to you so that it forces you to look inwards and heal yourself. That's a rock bottom, when you have to stop your life to take the time and go bed rest or heal yourself or do something. It's a rock bottom. And it gets easier and easier the higher frequency you're in. But we still have these, we go through them. Unless you start to pay attention to your body's responses. So your body is going to tell you when it's not happy. So if you eat something and it gives you indigestion, that means your body didn't like that food. Stop eating it immediately, especially if it's milk. Yeah. And then you just take the time and start listening to your body. Your body is telling you how your energy field is flowing. So if your body is not happy with something, it's going to give you an ache, a pain, a rash. You may get a bug bite. You may get a paper cut. You may have a nail break, right? Any of these is an indication that your energy grid as a whole, it has an imbalance in it. That imbalance needs to be changed or modified to allow a higher frequency to flow into the energetics, which then is going to stop the manifestation of physical trauma or rashes. Yes.
I love that. So really, why are we doing all of this anyway, right? I believe that what Teresa was saying is, listen, if you want to be part of this, if you want to feel saint-like energy, be as prepared as possible and you'll see more of it.
Yes. It's not even to be as prepared as possible, because that's like the first thought I had was the bunker people who are preparing for the world's end. Yeah. No. We want to heal ourselves because we love
like
ourselves.
Doing the work, getting rid of the densities, like working through things and not feeling shame about it.
Yes. Now, you shouldn't feel shame about healing yourself, because when you are able to shine your brightest, you're able to touch more people's hearts. And that really is the only reason that we're here. We're here to learn how to love ourselves, and to learn to love other people. That is the only reason. The more and more we can learn that, the higher our density raises. That puts us more in a higher frequency realm. That's where we want to go, because it feels good. Not to say that it's not okay to be in the darkness and dense, but the darkness and dense, the lower you go, it usually leads to a death. We don't want to experience that, because we're here. We like being alive. Let's shoot for the light and see what happens.
Right. Yeah. And so I think another message that I've been getting lately is, listen, if other people aren't seeing the light, they don't care about the shadow work, they want to gossip, they want to do whatever, it is not up to me to change that. And they chose this experience. Is that a way that the star people look at it? Or they chose this experience, they're choosing and they're making their choices. We can just look with non-judgment.
They are an illusion. And so I say this with 1000% certainty.
Okay.
All people around you, we have energetic, we're going to call it contracts for a better word, but it's an attunement. So When we go in and we heal ourselves, the people on the outside world change. Now, many times we do this on the outside to see the reflection on the outside. So we go to someone, we place a boundary rings, we talk to them, we tell them how we feel. That changes things. Yes, that's true. That's how we would do things in a 3D physical reality. We still do things like that, and that's okay. But there's another way of doing it. And the other way that we do it is by healing each one of our chakras. So each person, even if you want to consider them like a player character, let's say, a sibling figure, right? Open up the sacral chakra and imagine and visualize the sibling energy inside of that chakra. Now clean it up. What emotions are in there? Clean off all those emotions. We can even, because when you do that, you start to notice a change in the person immediately. So, but it's also for every experience. So I had a thing about Christmas. That's in one of the chakras. It's an imprint. You have to clean up the emotions around that imprint, and then that experience stops happening. It's like a cycle repeat. That's what it is. But we can do this for everything. Every single thing in our life comes from a frequency inside of us. So if there's something on the outside that you don't like, that means you have to dive into your energy field and pull it out, see it. What is it? What emotions are in there? Why did that trigger me? Why is this person not in alignment? Is there something inside of me that is calling the manifestation of this person not being in alignment? When you heal yourself, all things heal. All people around you heal. Even if that person releases from your life, the soul form from that person may show up in a new body. And then all of a sudden you've released one, and now that soul is right back in a different body, and now you're more in alignment. So it's beautiful the way it works, but clean up your own energy and the people around you change physically. And I've seen this, so I know for a fact it's true.
But we don't need to focus on those other people.
No.
What we're doing is, I just wanted to clarify, because say you said to imagine them in your sacral area, right? You are
imagine
cleaning up your thoughts about them.
The player character. So a sibling, if it's a sibling, you pull out the sibling string, or however you want to visualize it, from that chakra and just put it in front of you and imagine. Right? Just all creative imagination. If you had a sibling inside of you, or that relationship with your sibling, that's an energy. Pull it out, stick it inside of you. How does it look to you? Is there any darkness on that energy? Pull the darkness off, throw it in a magical trash can. The magical trash cans have a vortex energy in it. It takes the darkness, it releases light. So then you could take that light and heal yourself with it. That's what I do. This way it automatically transmutates, and I can heal that chakra doing that. So beautiful. Do that with the sibling energy, but you can do that with your boss. You can do that with the mailman. You can do that with the people you haven't met yet who are going to be driving next to your car so that you are safe as you drive. You can do that for every single experiential in your life. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to. It's 7:58. I know you have your shadow work. Do you have your shadow work Zoom tonight?
Yes. At 8:30 tonight, we will be hosting the shadow work Zoom. Anybody who wants to come, it is 100% complimentary. Just send me a message only through daniellipton.com, and I will send you the Zoom link. There's no strings attached. We're just growing the tribe so that we all heal together. There is one more thing I have to talk about. So this Saturday, I don't know the date, but this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m., I will be at the Magical Mind and Spirit Expo. My friend has a table, so I'm going to be hanging out there. And so I will have a couple of books, not too many, maybe one bag I have left. That's in the South Mall. It's 3300 Lehigh Street, Allentown, PA, 18103. And so anyone who wants to come meet me and ask questions or just show up and say hi, that is where I will be on Saturday. Yeah,
will you have your wands?
I might, of course I'm going to have my wand to show everybody this
books and wands, say no more.
Yes, exactly. It's so cool.
All right. So Lainey, I see your question about your husband, and I suggest the shadow work Zooms are amazing. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, and
Oh,
April, it looks like
kyanite.
you got yours.
So
Mary
kyanite.
answered that, I think.
Oh, I couldn't really hear you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So she said, how do you feel about using kyanite to work on chakras? Mary Jean said on third eye and throat, April. Is that
Yes.
what you would say
So
too?
I have a kyanite stone and it's round and it's green. And that's I slip it into my gloves because I have these. I remember I was telling everybody, you guys have
Yeah,
to get gloves.
yeah,
Like I put the crystals in, I manifested them. And so,
yeah,
and they have copper in them. So Sunshine sewed magnets inside of them. And now I
yeah.
have magnets and the crystals. So it's like double duty. But I
Okay.
use kyanite because kyanite is like a healer stone. So it gives you enough energy to be able to do energy castings. That's a perfect
Nice.
stone for healing. Yes.
Nice. I have one more question.
Yes.
What do the star people say about sea glass? It's not really a crystal, but lately I've been very attracted to it for some reason. Is it important?
Yes, it
Oh,
absolutely is
okay.
because
Okay.
it is infused with the frequency of the ocean. So,
Okay.
as a human being, sometimes you have to get broken in order to polish yourself and make yourself look brand new again with your emotions. That is the frequency of sea glass. And so, sea glass had to get broken, it had to shatter into 1,000 pieces, and then it had to
And
become beautiful
travel a
again
long way.
and travel a long way. And now it is treasured. So when you hold a piece of sea glass, then that frequency of I was broken and now I'm still beautiful. I'm more beautiful.
Yeah,
It gets encoded into you,
that
which
is
is why
beautiful.
it's beautiful. Thank you, Steph.
Thank you for answering that.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Elle,
Yeah.
and hopefully everyone will join the
Shadowwork
Shadowwork Zoom.
Zoom.
Okay.
Yay. Love you guys. Thank you so incredibly much for coming to another episode of Starseed Activations. You guys have a wonderful night, and I will see you soon.
And thank you, Star People and Teresa.
And thank you, Jody, for joining us and for co-hosting with us. And yes,
My
thank you,
pleasure.
Star People, and thank you, Teresa. We love and bless every person here. Thank you.